How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the show. Happy Friday out there. Hope you're doing well. Oh, I thought it would be fun to have a very fun stream where we go through. You get to ask any of the controversial questions that you like to ask, and we get to get some fun and hopefully intelligent answers out of it. Not the hopium, not the this is what I believe, and because I believe it, and there's no evidence or otherwise for it. But you get to ask questions, and we'll go over a few different takes that I think are interesting around the ecosystem. You might have heard that the charts keep going lower. I just don't care. I've shrugged it. I think once you shrug it off about 10,000 times, you just don't even care. It's like eye on the prize, laser focus. Do not care. I've talked about it a million times. Don't look at the price charts until it's time to look at the price charts, and everything is noise. Literally, I think everything is noise until the match is struck. Just what Richard talked about the other day. The match is nearly struck. All the price action, all the stuff happening, all the pumps, all the dumps on chain, all noise. I consider them all noise until it is PulseChain season. And I think we're very close. I certainly, there's plenty of things that you could look at to say that. We obviously discussed many times on the show as well. So yeah, I think that's where we're at. And, if you're out there just disappointed that your favorite coin isn't pumping, or the core coins go down sometimes, I don't know. I think the only way to get away from that is to stop looking at the price charts and start, doing whatever you can to make contributions in the community. And yeah, I think that's there's so many other things you can do other than complaining about it. That's never been part of my thing. It's very hard for me to understand, the complaining mentality and the do work for me mentality, and the, just expectation mentality. I try to get to understand it enough to be sympathetic from time to time, but it's just not by me. So first one, why banning realists? What does that mean? Who was banned? Who is a realist, and what ideal? Please state the ideal, and we can talk about it. Or the realist talking about the ideal. Not sure what that means. Anyways, we'll go through the chat though. Again, get your most controversial questions about PulseChain or Hex in the chat, in the community, and we'll talk about it. How's it going, Mike? Welcome. Travis, let's go. We're gonna go for about 45 minutes or so. It's gonna be pretty good. Bags packed, ready for whatever. I like that attitude. I like my bags are packed, and I'm going to show up to live streams. You probably put positivity out in lots of other places as well. And yeah, I like that. Good job, Travis. Showing up, putting in the work. Again, if you're not building stuff, if you're not, creating otherwise content, again, you can always hit like, you can hit subscribe button. I try to share creators and stuff that I like a lot. I have people on the show. I'm very much in DeFi. That's what I like. That's what I'll continue to like and continue to promote. The ones that I like, the ones that I'm interested in. I'm actually ready for lower lows we head that way. I could not be phased. If we drop another 50 to 80%, I could not care. Literally, my biggest concern would be, do I have any dry powder? How can I get dry powder to buy the lows? That's my biggest concern. I tweeted the other day, like my biggest concern on PulseChain is, do I have enough? And it's like, if they dropped another one, because I believe it's going to go back up. It's simple as that. If the price goes down and you don't believe it's going to go back up, that could cause concern. But I believe I know within what I know, right? Like, I'm not going to give financial advice, but I know, based on what I've seen, and my belief system is it will go back up eventually. So any prices that are low, if I think they're going to go up 100,000, 10,000x, I'm going to buy them so I can get a better, X's. They do go back up, and I can wait. Some people can't wait. I can wait. If you're in the wait club, welcome. If you're not, then that's okay too. But don't try to take everyone else down who can wait. How's it going, Bente? Welcome. Duke of Booze. Good to see you, man. How's it going? Corey Rex. How's it going, Corey? Welcome. Reinvent Ideal. Cairo's in the building. How's it going, man? Good to see you. Cairo's been killing it with streams and content lately. When PulseChain season? I think I tweeted the other day, I think this is the shakeout's over. And again, I preface that with the note that I don't think that means there won't be any other price dips and stuff like that. I think I said something like that. I think it just means that if you're in PulseChain now and you stayed here, or you're welcome. If you're new, welcome. When I did the polls of the last two, I didn't do one for Pulse Conference 2055, but I did one for PulseX Conference and Hex Week. I think combined over 100 people were onboarded due to those events. Like I asked the question, and I think around 60 people were onboarded from PulseX Conference, if I remember, and around 40, 50 people for Hex Week. So just doing those two events, according to the poll numbers, 100 plus people. So that's pretty cool, not including the Pulse Conference. I didn't even do a poll for that one. So pretty amazing win. So win Pulse season, I think the major shakeouts are over. I think Richard's tweets have been pointing to a lot of amazing stuff coming. The mega marketing, I think, is that the match that could be struck? Like, is that the one that could be combined with some price action, some pumpage? We've seen $5 million bridged in from Tornado Cash. That correlates. I don't know. Is this a causation versus a correlation thing? That certainly seems very similar to the around 5 million of ETH that was bridged out a while back as well. So there used to be 171K ETH. There's now 166. Again, this isn't about having every time. It's like people don't. It's like there's something about talking about the SAC funds that half the people like and are like, oh, that's interesting. I'm excited for that. And it seems like the other half are just like, they just don't want to talk about it, when it's literally one of the best marketing things we could have. It puts us on, we get included in altcoin daily videos all the time, because I think the last one, they keep cutting off at 5 now. It's almost like they keep finding a reason not to put PulseChain on the screen, but PulseChain keeps being on the screen. Great for marketing. And it doesn't matter whether you think we should expect it to go in or not. It doesn't mean just because I talk about it that I expect it to happen. I think maybe, I don't know. I think both sides are kind of hot takes in a way that, a lot of people seem to believe it's never going to go in. Like, none of the SAC funds are going to go in. There's some nuance to that, because right now there is 166K SAC funds. Let me pull up the screen. Strategic. So 166K. So PulseChain number 5. I pretty sure that they saw altcoin daily video and it had the top 5. PulseChain was on there. They literally cut off at 4. I don't know. So 166K, around 700 million. And that's just, I could totally see that just being used to be on these lists for marketing, and for us to point to later, maybe PulseChain does a 10x and we're like, look, and also PulseChain is on this strategic Ethereum reserve. And that, becomes a sign of legitimacy or a sign of like promotion and stuff too. So I really think, and as long as we're on that list, it's there for marketing, right? So there's no benefit in not, talking. I don't know the benefit. It seems like it's like if you talk about it, that gives people expectations that'll be used. I think I just have a different worldview than most people. I really do. At this point, you know, we talked about censorship before. I think people either don't know what censorship, or let's say, don't know what freedom of speech means, or they don't care. They don't know what transparency actually means, or they don't care, or they don't want to practice it, or they don't want other people to practice it. I don't know what it is. All these different like even talking about the different moves that are happening, they're related to the OA. Let the man work, all this stuff. I don't get it. I have a different view. I have a different worldview. I think it's exciting for people to know that big whales behind the scenes, no matter who they are making moves. And all that is bullish, interesting. And I don't know, maybe if you're a trader or something, you're trying to front run some of the moves or something, then that, it's like an edge thing. But like, who is voting to not have more information? It's like, more information better. Who wants to have less information? And it always comes back to, I think, like the biggest piece to this, it always comes back to, because people will wreck themselves, or they'll have expectations, or I don't want to control what anyone thinks out there. I'm not responsible for what anyone does out there for anything. I want to know these things. I think they're interesting. And this whole, there's just not a lot behind it. This whole thing, like, we got to save people from themselves. Nobody needs to save anyone from anything. Everyone, if you can't have it both ways. You're either a sovereign individual and you can do what you want with your coins and the information and stuff you get, or you're not. And I don't like to treat everyone like they're stupid. Just because I say words and then people take actions based on what they think the words mean, that is like literally every single kind of entertainment, information, show, news, media ever. So I don't know. I think that people just come up with these reasons to not talk about things. And there's always some reason they have that's not like this. It always appears. It's always very hard for me to find a reason they have that is useful for everyone. It's either they're trying to keep some edge, or they're just misinformed about something, or they're just hanging on to this view. I'm not sure what it is. So I think I want to know when large moves happen. And I think other people want to know too. And I want to see when the SAC wallet, the OA, any other wallets make moves. And just back to the point of, will the funds move or not? I could totally see one side where these particular funds from this SAC wallet with ETH do not move, do not get bridged into PulseChain until maybe never. But I say I could see nothing ever happening with them until Richard calls the top on ETH. So whatever that top is, and then I could see them getting sold into stablecoin or otherwise. They don't have to be bridged in. I could see them, the profit being taken type of deal. And yeah, that would take it off the list of the largest Ethereum holder. But that would also, this is kind of like this balance, right? Like, do you want to have a bunch of money to bridge into PulseChain, or do you want to use it for marketing? You could do both. You could use it. It could literally be used for marketing until the top of ETH, and then get sold to turn into profits. That could be used to be bridged in, or it could not be bridged in, and it could be used for next cycle to buy, whatever, buy more ETH, or again, buy bridge into PulseChain, buy assets, whatever it is. But I think right now it's used for marketing. I could totally see it not being used for anything else, except, again, that $5 million that was bridged in. I think it's interesting, and I think it's worth paying attention to, because but even if we go to pampi.app, I want to turn this into a moon math stream. But if we just do, for example, how do I do just Why does it show me the SAC funds? I want to do price simulator without anything to do with the reserve. Can I just type it in here? Can I just do, is it 1.25? So 1.25 million into each. That's 12 million. Too many zeros. 1.25 million. So times 4, 5 million. So even that, even just putting the 5 million in at current, the way liquidity and stuff is only, you know, like 5x or so. So is that used to paint, you know, greener candles, to paint a better chart and stuff during onboarding? It could be, but it just seems like it's such a small amount. So I don't even know what the $5 million would be used that could, I mean, maybe there's like some other interesting liquidity piece to it, but putting it in like this, you know, it's not like the 5 million is going to get us like, you know, 100x or something like that. So I don't know what 5 million is going to do, but I want to think of it as kind of, I think the SAC funds, if they're ever used. So the other side, so let's say they're never used. The other side could be, well, they're obviously going to be used. When would they be used? I don't think it'll be this putting them in, you know, like every day, so much buy pressure each time for, you know, a year or two. I don't think it'll be that. I think it would be more of literally letting the marketing do its job. The other whales in the ecosystem, you know, pump it. Maybe Godwell comes back, starts doing Godwell things. The marketing, the new people coming in, again, those could be buys and stuff too, of various amounts. And then I think an interesting scenario here would be, it's just used as fuel on the fire. So after PulseChain already goes up 10, 20, 100x, all that stuff, and then just kind of used to support the price or just add fuel to the fire, create more FOMO, all those pieces, if it's used in that piece. So I think both scenarios are interesting. So when PulseChain season, back to the original question, great question, Aldo, Nike office. I would guess when people start getting the mailers, we start seeing new people come in the community. I mean, the rate cuts, does anyone believe we're not going to get a rate cut this month? We're not going to get 1 or 2 more this year. You know, a lot of stuff Kyra talks about with the business cycle and DXY and you know, a lot of the macro stuff as well. I don't know. To me, it's like even for me, it's like one of those hard to believe, oh, it's actually happening, come together scenarios. But boy, I haven't seen Richard be this bullish and direct. Usually he's pretty vague about stuff. He's being pretty direct, more direct than usual in the spectrum of directness. And it makes sense. Like, it all makes sense that this would be around the time. So yeah, quote, 2 more weeks, end quote. I wouldn't be surprised if we're very, very close. Like, very close. Is everyone prepared for the possibility the bull market doesn't start until next summer? No, I'm not prepared for that. My first instinct is, I know I do not want. However, to that question, I think, and this is, of course, like, nobody wants to start next summer. Everybody wants to start now, next week. But two interesting things from that. So one way I could see is I didn't bring up the mini bull run while everything else is kind of like going sideways. But I just can't. Will it take that long for the marketing stuff to bring the new people in to start working, or for other moves to start taking place? I don't know. It's a possibility, but I certainly hope it starts now and goes into next summer. That's what I'm hoping for. Yeah, of course, nobody has a crystal ball. But if it doesn't I don't know. I think maybe an interesting piece here. What if the ecosystem in general, what if we don't, the bull run, quote, bull run, doesn't start till next summer. But in the meantime, from September, October until, next summer, PulseChain is a flowery, amazing place where green candles are much more common. People get along. They respect other people's views. They don't call it gatekeeping and censorship when they just like to promote their own things, and everyone go start their own platform, promote their own thing too. What if PulseChain just turns into a much better, nicer place in the meantime? And part of that thing, when people see, they get the mailers, they get the marketing stuff, and they come into the ecosystem, they see this amazing place that is much more peaceful, that is less, less dysfunctional, less, it actually looks like, wow, there's people launching more products, and Alex starts launching more products, and, all the different builders and stuff. And, hey, we even what if we get the super app from Richard and PulseChain devs and stuff like that? It's almost like, even if that happened, even the, quote, worst case scenario type of thing that everyone doesn't want to happen, if the price doesn't start going up and doing hundreds of X's until next summer, in the meantime, I think we've got a lot of amazing community efforts and a lot of interesting macro things that we could see green candles, although not as big as, everyone's looking for in the meantime. But we really build up, I guess we rebuild in a way, the atmosphere. And man, imagine what Liberty, hopefully, if everything keeps going great with Liberty Swap and all on ramps and the OX Coast and, Gibbs Finance and all this stuff. Imagine until the next few months having the easiest, best ways to get over to PulseChain, centralized ways, decentralized ways, all those pieces. And by the time next summer comes, that we're back to, we're back to Hexco. We're back to PulseChain, but with the Hexagon vibe from like 2020, 2021, 2022. That'd be pretty cool. And he says, we need an update on marketing and how it's coming along. Nobody wants to say anything. I think so. I don't see a lot of the questions or angst and stuff about marketing, but I really, I know a lot of people are working really hard on it. And, I think I would just say I don't know. I just don't get that frustrated by not knowing everything about it all the time. So for me, I just think about it. I think it's just the framing, because if you want to know what's going on, I would just say people are working hard to pump your bags, your bags, my bags, everyone's bags. So, I mean, Eddie, it's not directed at you. It's directed at anyone in general who's just like, it's not fair that we don't know what's going on. Why does anyone need to know exactly what's happening? Like, unless you're directly participating in it. And it's like, are we going to go to Coinbase and be like, I get, what's the analogy? It's always like Richard, everyone's like, oh, where's the ETH, Richard? Like all this stuff. It's like, do you go to your bank and ask them how they're investing your money? Or, do you go to McDonald's and ask them, the franchisee, how they're paying their employees? Like, just, like all those different examples. If you're not part of the process, then you're probably not going to know everything that's happening. But that doesn't like make me angry or anything. It just makes me like, oh, cool. I'm glad there's people out there putting in the work. Like, I don't need to know everything. So I would frame it as more hopeful, as like, wow, there's actually people who aren't asking anything from me and are putting in the work to do this stuff. And if people aren't saying things, it's probably for a reason. And I think, again, as we didn't know what the device was, and then we did. And we never knew there was going to be Memecoins marketing until we did. it strikes me. Remember Richard saying, you know, when there's something I want you to know about, I'll tell you. So I don't know. I wouldn't take it as people are like trying to hide stuff, or, you know, I don't get any anxiety or frustration about not knowing exactly how the process is working. I'm just happy the process is going. Like, that's amazing. So I would be supporting people who, a lot of people are putting in a lot of time and effort for thankless jobs. And I wish people wouldn't criticize them for it. I wish people would just salute them. There's no point. There's like, you want these people to put in that work. So make them feel good about it, instead of make them like, you know, not want to be around social media because they get so many questions, or so many get blamed for this or that or otherwise. All right, give me just a second. Reef Juicy. Hey there, RHMax, longtime PulseChain investor, kind of new social media. Wow. Best of luck, sir. I hope you're following the right people and muting the wrong ones. Glad to see you here. Welcome. Thanks for all that you do, especially take me off the ledge. I assume metaphorically there, but yeah, I think no, I appreciate that. I'm here to win. I don't know how many different ways I can say that, how I can show it. You know, actions speak louder than words. No expectations, but boy, you've seen me putting in a lot of actions. So I'm doing what I think I can do to help this chain, and I hope to inspire other people to do it. And yeah, thank you for showing up. I hope you have massive gains, man. I hope you win very hard, and hopefully, you know, you don't sound like you're one who's fighting themselves out of the chain and creating controversy and enjoying it and all that stuff too. So no one should have expectations of anyone out there creating things or streaming or otherwise. And I can get that island and go there any minute. But right now, there's a mission to do, and I want to see this thing through. I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it. You know, I did so much, and I've spent so much time and energy, and there's so many other things I could be doing. But this is important. Like, this is worth it. I know it's worth it. I believe it's worth it. It aligns with my values. We deserve to win. And I don't know what to say. Like, there's not much explanation I can have other than like, this is what I choose to do because this is what I want. I want us to win. So I'm going to keep doing that. You need to focus on long game, long-term adoption, 1 to 5% per paycheck long haul. Needs to be gospel hex. Yeah, I think this bear market has turned people into such short-term games. You know, it sucks because it's not a healthy, functioning way of investing when you just create coins just to dump them. And not every coin's like that, but boy, about every single day, I see CryptoSolve posting about some new honeypot. And it's just like, wow, how many times do you want to get rinsed? How many times? When name changed to RHMax, I've had about 4 meme coin debates, I think. I think everyone knows how my stance on those. I did say half jokingly that, you know, if Hex does another 10,000x, maybe I'll create a meme coin. So I think when the time comes, maybe. But let's mission first. Let's make Hex do a 10,000x first, and then we'll talk about meme coins. I want Hex to win, and after Hex wins, I think we'll have plenty of, you know, won't be such a scarcity mindset. Won't be such a, you know, you're flooding my bags because you won't talk about it, or you're gatekeeping because you only want to talk about the core coins, or it's just, I don't know. It's like going into a bookstore and demanding they feature your book. Like, what would they say? Like, probably that's not how it works, sir. Like, Go start your own bookstore, control your inventory, feature whatever you want, you know. But I have this book. It's about flying cars. You know, stop gatekeeping me, bookkeeper. It's like, we only sell nonfiction, sir. We only do biographies and nonfiction. I'm sure your flying car book is amazing. It just doesn't fit in the category. It's not what we want to promote. So you can just go start goodfictionbooks.com. Go promote your own fiction books. You know, every bookstore has every right to promote whatever they want. Most book tours promote all the garbage these days. It kind of sucks, but it's besides the point. Kind of an inverse example almost. There's plenty of space in town for multiple bookstores. So my name is RHMax, by the way, like RH Maximalist. I know that doesn't strike people as like, I mean, there's a little bit of wiggle. I'm a maxi for his ideals, not the coins, but his coins sure are my favorite ones. That's why I talk about DeFi protocols. I literally 2 years ago, I literally had Founders Week. I had Buck and Dylan, and I had Stu from Tetra, and I had Gerardo on from Mention. I had like all these founders on. Like, I support a lot of different DeFi stuff and a lot of different founders in the community. Next time Alex makes anything, I want him on the show. You know, I'll be, you know, Dipcatcher even too. Like, I think they all create amazing stuff. So, and I don't think people, like, I wouldn't be who I am if I didn't do what I do, right? I don't think the people, I don't think I have this many subs and subscribes and views and like all those metrics and stuff. If I was just, well, whatever you want to talk about, let's just talk about it. Hey, I'm sure this is a great idea. Like, and just, you know, I don't think people, you know, would trust me with this brand that I built over time if I didn't stick to my principles and put in the work. You know, I like the course, I like DeFi protocols, and I'm unlikely to change. I don't like doing absolutes, but boy, you know, I don't work for Richard either. Richard doesn't work for me. I don't work for him. If he starts talking about meme coins, and you can say, oh, well, there's evidence about most and stuff. Okay, cool. I'm not interested. If Richard literally launched a meme coin himself, I'd be like, I'm here for DeFi, man. Like, of course, it's a Richard Hart thing, and I'm going to give his ideals a shot, and you know, I'm gonna have an open mind. But boy, I'm not excited about that. I don't just blindly follow whatever like he talks about too. There's plenty of things I disagree with him on that I have over time. I've talked about it too. It doesn't matter. It does not matter if I disagree with Richard on anything. I agree with him on most things. That's what matters. So if you're going into a thread, shilling your coins, I said it so many times, so politely, so generously on X and on YouTube. Please do not shill coins. Please respect, you know, I respect your views. You can go do whatever you want. We don't have to engage. It's fine. Shilling coins, super easy blockeroni, super easy. So it's like, hey, would it be cool if I graffiti your store's walls with a ticker that's going to change the world? No, it's, I don't like that. I'm not interested. Disengage. So not cool. Anyways, looking for questions. I'm going to wrap up in a little bit. Appreciate that, man. I wish I could pronounce your name. I'm not sure. You can pronounce it in the chat if you like. Appreciate that. Very close now. I think so. Thoughts on PulseChain turning a private chain where people cannot follow address activity? That is an interesting question. Wow, what an intelligent, interesting question, Boca Businessman. I've thought about that. Everyone's like, oh, privacy, good. We need privacy, you know, so we can have privacy on the chain. We can do transactions that people can't do. That's going to totally screw up chain analysis, you know. And there's pros and cons, right? Because, you know, even Richard talking about we have a chart of future market supply or future market supply. Is that what it was? Is that the quote? We have a chart of future market supply. I think that's right. Talking about hex and stakes, and you can see when they're coming out, all that stuff. What if we have private hex stakes and you can't see with all this on-chain analysis? Like, this is going to break. If we have like full privacy, again, we're probably not have full privacy and everything. It's going to be too expensive. It's not going to be worth it to do on most things. It's probably going to be default, not private, for most protocols and stuff too. But you can't do analysis if you don't have the data. So this is going to break a lot of different analysis tools. It's going to break a lot of like whale watching. You think Tornado Cash not being able to know where stuff comes from is like, if you think that's a problem, or you think that's a thing that messes up analytics or whatever, imagine when like we get like Railgun and stuff on all these pieces. So I don't think it'll be everywhere. I think on-chain data is still amazing and useful, and people like that. And it's going to be like, it's not going to we're not going to privacy all the things, but I think we'll privacy a lot of important things. And that's going to, create some, you're not going to be able to see the data. You're not going to have all these metrics on certain things, or you're going to have to exclude them from it because, they're not going to be accurate because you won't see the sender, receiver, or whatever they protect. So very good point. I think if we do, everyone's like, privacy, great. When we get it, it's kind of like, yeah, we should use crypto everywhere. Everything should be a blockchain. And then you're like, I don't know. Some things, I like cash too. Not everything needs to be a blockchain. So the man wanted to be on the list, so we should talk about the SAC. Yeah, it's as simple as that. I don't know. He literally tweeted about it twice, I want to say. If he didn't, he's the one who kicked it off. He's the one who kicked off everyone at tweeting the guy who runs the site. Do you think Richard will one day address the big ecosystem on this chain individually? The big ecosystem, feedback of some kind. What is the big ecosystem on this chain? Which one in particular? Again, you don't have to show coins, but if you're asking a question for discussion-wise, like, that's totally fine. Yeah, if you got a clarification on that, I'll try to answer it. Would be a major difference in one blockchain state features of Ethereum. Yeah. Ecosystem privacy, ecosystem of mad gains, ecosystem of freedom. There's a lot of cool stuff. One thing I was going to mention too, real quick, is a lot of people think that Ink is going to turn into, or could be turned into, this governance token to have utility. I don't think it will. It's possible because, in the contract here, I'm pretty sure this was copied over. It was just when it was forked over, this comment. I'm almost certain, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I'm almost certain the PulseChain devs did not put this on here. So note that it's ownable and owner wields tremendous power. The ownership will be transferred to governance smart contract once Ink is sufficiently distributed, the community can govern itself. So this is, I think it's what a lot of people like to speculate of it turning into a governance token. I'm going to take the other side. I'm going to say, I don't think it ever will be, or it won't be anytime soon, because it's decentralized network, centralized control. If Richard's turning knobs, or the OA, or we got some other whale with a ton of control over the PulseChain hex, turning knobs for the farms in ink inflation, and also has, OA has the power we saw to ladder out, reduce inflation for hex. What moves have they made to decentralize power over the core protocols? Have they made any moves to decentralize power over the core protocols? I can't think of any. I don't think Richard's MO is giving up control and power. It's the opposite. It is maintaining the ability to be the Fed, then maintaining the ability to turn knobs in one way or another as they need to, as benevolent. Well, so a move to use Ink as a government token, I can't see it based on based on who I believe is turning knobs and stuff, unless one day Hex does 100,000x. Community's in great shape. It's huge. It's amazing. He's rides off in the sunset. Maybe then other things like that could happen, but I won't think that's anytime soon, and I wouldn't count on it. So is it a marketing point? Is it like a maybe bullish thing that could happen? I guess. Then what is that to control, like which farms and stuff come up on PulseX? That is kind of like a lot of power too. Of all the governance things you can do, controlling the farms on PulseX, that'd be pretty cool. Do I think it's going to happen? No, not anytime soon. But Just want to explain that for if you've ever heard that before. I think that's where it comes from. If you bridge in, I think we do it for ETH top months for a bear market. That would not work. Yeah, he could never bridge it in. He could sell it and then bridge it in. He could bridge it beforehand and then do stuff with it. I'd say God will save us. I think God will, again, could be another fuel on the fire. I think all the whales, here's how I think about the whales. Fuel on the fire. The benevolent ones, at least. Of course, whales these days, a lot of people think, oh, those people are just selling all the time. The ones that I hope are still around and rooting for PulseChain and Hex when the right conditions occur, macro and community and all that stuff too, then I think we'll start seeing some fuel on the fire. I mean, that's what I think will happen, at least. Since I joined Hex community, I never understand why people push PDI so much out of the core coins. Replace PDI with any other meme coin. It's just a big community on PulseChain, and they believe what they believe. And it's just, a lot of people think they can make money off of it. They think it'll go up more than the core coins. It's just, again, I put PDI in the meme category. Everyone can think whatever they want. I would just say any meme coin that has a big community, they want to push it because they want to gain popularity. They want the price to go up. They want to onboard more people, all that stuff too. So they're off doing their thing. Had a whole debate on it, but had a great story, all that stuff. But again, it's a story. If there was any evidence that any of the stuff would happen, actually, there's so much more evidence on the other side than they are for the grand decentralized ideal for it happening, especially since Exploiter, all that stuff. So, and then Richard came out against it. I don't think Richard's a liar. I don't think he's playing any games there. I think that's 60 chess. So there used to be something to it to me. There used to be a chance there was something to it for me. There isn't anymore, but people still invested. They want money. They want to make themselves like, oh, this has to work. All that stuff. And people promoting it, they either know that and don't care, or they really, really believe it themselves. I don't believe it. I'm not interested. So, but anyways, why they push, that any coin more than such other core coins, because they believe in it. They want it to do well. They're probably invested in it. And that's it. So there's just one of the bigger communities on PulseChain. So they're louder than a lot of other ones. I wish everyone the best. I hope everyone makes a ton of money, whatever they're invested in. But I'm interested in the cores and DeFi protocols much more. ETH funds will stay put, which is super bullish. They go up with ETH. We just go up with ETH. Yield and borrowing too. Yeah, I think the yield and borrowing effect is one other piece in this. Again, I'm not sure if it's going to happen. You could say why wasn't the ETH already staked? If that was the case, I guess that's the biggest reason. Well, it's been a year or so, and it could have been making plenty of ETH yield and using that yield to start buying the core coins already, or just making extra money to bridge in, just like the 5 million and stuff was. There could be that. It hasn't happened. Why did he buy ETH at the time, which was the local top, instead of it's much more profit now. None of that even matters now, but why buy it higher instead of when it was 1,400 or whatever? I think because the more centralized stuff that's happening around stablecoins and ETH, I think it was a strategic move. It's okay, well, it's got to happen now, my opinion. But yeah, the yield and borrowing is interesting. Maybe it could still happen, I guess, but I just don't know why it wouldn't have already happened if that was going to be the case. Because the DAI did go into a pool. Not many people know this or remember, but the DAI, we covered it and talked about it a lot back then. The DAI did go into a pool that was earning, yield. And then it got taken out, bought ETH, and here we are. All right. Sorry, I got to wrap up in a second. Chad of Donner Swans. How's it going, man? I haven't seen you for a while. I can't answer all the questions, but I'll just get to a couple more. Get Alex. Dude, I'd love to. I had him on the stream. If you type in RHMax, Alex Hedron. That was a epic stream I did with him 3 years ago, around that time, 2.5, 3 years ago, is pretty good. So that was a great stream. Hope he comes back. Sounds like there was a tweet about dinner soon type of deal. So I don't know. I'm excited for it. Let's see, just scrolling. Refugees question when we actually pump hard, where will Hexaco actually physically be? I don't know. I mean, Hexaco could be an ideal. It could just be like, this way of thinking and principles based, and, you kind of make Hexaco wherever you go when you get people into doing, playing healthy games and living their best life and all that stuff. It could be a physical place where, you see tech companies and billionaires and stuff buying towns. What if Richard buys 555 acres in Texas and names it Hexaco, I mean, people would be like, no, this should be called PulseChain. Like, it should be called PulseCope. There'll be like some referendum or something over that. It could be a libertarian paradise, a floating island, sovereign that has its own military. Like, I don't know. It could just be, it could be metaphorical. It could be physical. I'm excited to find out, though. It should be pretty cool. I do not underestimate billionaire founder genius guy. Pretty good. Pretty good. It's all Fast Abdul in here as well. How's it going? He's here for the tech. How's it going, man? Good to see you. Let's see. Hex Monkey, I love your message, Dave. RHMax. Indeed, there's no downside to continue building and improving with the tech and culture while waiting for Pulse. Yeah, man. Like, imagine all the, I talked about this with Jexa too yesterday during the stream. All the building, all this stuff that we have that's going to make us ready for the new people coming in, to get everyone prepared for when we do have, if and when we do have these major glory run pumps, mania everywhere, FOMO, crazy stuff happening. They have places to put their money. They have games to play. They have onboards. They have ways to get in. They have people prepared to, take them and show them about PulseChain. So it's what better way to do it than to be ready. We don't know when it's coming, but I believe it is coming. So that's where I'm spending my time to make this the best place possible. Make it, yeah. All right, sorry, I can't get to all the questions. I think I covered quite a few, though. Any other hot takes, any other controversial questions you want to bring up? Again, I did a ton of debate. If you're interested in, looking at debates, why has that not even come up yet? Yeah. If you want to see my thoughts and opinions on lots of other stuff, you go to the playlists. Go over. I should make a tiny URL for playlists, huh? So if you go to playlist, go to debates. We got a ton here. So everything from Richard Hart to Memecoins to Puerto Rico to Hex and eHex and pHex. What's the best core coin? Ton of different stuff. So everything in between. Check it out, Richard Hart. I think it's best to take ideals, and not every single time, but I don't know. I'm a natural truth seeker. I don't go with just trust me, bro. I go with, I want to understand something. I want to understand both sides. I think what's really good about debate too, to do a good debate, you really need to understand the other side well. And when you understand the other side well, you're able to have, compassion or empathy, or you're able to have a better intellectual conversation about things because you know what you're saying. Like, you could see what the other person, the kind of framing they're taking. And not only can it make you better at debating and better at, winning arguments or bringing up good points or whatever it is, it can give you this, hey, we don't have to be on the same page, but I get where you're coming from type of thing. So to me, that just causes less frustration. It causes less negativity. And it doesn't mean you need to support the other side. It doesn't mean you need to agree with them. And agreeing to disagree is a very underrated thing. And in a place with all kinds of different subgroups and ideals and people building and personalities and everyone just working on whatever they think is best, we need more understanding. And that doesn't mean everyone starts promoting everything they don't like. It doesn't mean everyone just starts like saying, hey, everything's fine all the time. Just do all it just, to me, it's just, it gives a layer of respect. It gives a layer of understanding, a layer of, hey, I may not agree with you, but hopefully you do some good with it. I may not agree with you, but I will, defend your right to say what you want. I may not agree with you, I may not engage with you, but coexistence and everyone still being active and as positive as they can, onboarding the people, that's special. And that takes work, it takes effort, and it doesn't come from just, trying to make everyone like what you like, but just showing everyone what you can offer. And if it's a good product, you could say it could market itself, and you definitely don't need other people to do it for you. If if it's a good product, then if it's meant to be, it's meant to be type of thing. So I like core coins, I like DeFi, I like PulseChain, and I hope we win super hard very soon. That's all I got for you today. Scivive and 5555. We are out.